Okay, thank you so much for joining us for Impact State of Mind. I'm John Paul Parmigiani, CEO and co-founder of Impact Hub New York Metropolitan Area. Impact Hub New York Metropolitan Area is a nonprofit supporting entrepreneurs and change makers through programs designed to help impactful ideas take off. We work across the New York metropolitan area broadly with focus areas in Manhattan, Queens, Newark, and Morristown, New Jersey. Impact State of Mind is a virtual series created to support social innovators during the COVID-19 crisis. So thank you so much for joining us for this very special session today with the David Prize, which, as many of you know, is giving $200,000 of unrestricted funding for 5 innovators creating a better and brighter New York City. They're just doing incredible work. So I'm going to be handing it over to Erica Bull, who is the executive director of the David Prize, who will be speaking to 2 incredibly inspiring winners from the inaugural year of the program. So such a true honor and pleasure to have you all on. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you, John Paul, for the introduction and having us to Impact Hub New York. We're really excited to be here. We're so excited to be sharing and celebrating and amplifying 2 winners today of this year's David Prize. It's our first year, and so we're so excited to be able to amplify the work that Cielo Villa and Dr. Suzette Brown are doing. I'm going to kick it off by sharing my screen. Okay, cool. Can we all see it? Awesome. Okay, so we're going to roll through 3 parts to today's conversation. The first is a quick overview of what the David Prize is. We want to share a little bit more about the context and the process. Then we're going to dive into 2 examples of winners for this year's prize. They'll both share what their work is and a little bit more about their story. And then we'll move into an open Q&A. We have some questions teed up that bring out more of their story and their work, and we will open it up to any of you. So as you have questions throughout the conversation, put them in chat, we'll respond, we'll try to bring them in open Q&A. We also follow up over email on any questions we don't get to. So starting off with the David Prize 101, what is this? So the David Prize is in its 2nd year now. It is a celebration of individuals and ideas to create a better, brighter New York City. Each year, the David Prize awards 5 New Yorkers with $200,000 each, no strings attached. And we really mean no strings attached. It is a prize to an individual. It is intended to free up the space mentally, financially, emotionally for individual New Yorkers to do whatever it is they say they want to do for the city. So why invest $1 million bucks into individuals? We see this as an in-between of lots of other programs that are out there: Lifetime Achievement Awards, Social Impact Accelerators, and angel investing. We see it as somewhere in between all 3 of those. And we know that $1 million cannot change a city at scale, but we believe in the power of people. We think that every bet is a bet on a person and a bet on a leader with a visionary, and we think people have outsized impact. The second is we know that individuals are taking bets all across the city, and we know that. We live in New York City for a reason. That's what this place is made of. And we want to make sure that this opportunity, this fund, can do just that, taking a bet on those individuals that otherwise might not have access to capital. They might be flying under the radar for a variety of reasons. They might be too early stage for other funding sources out there, whether it be city contracts, venture capital, or philanthropy. And the last is we think sometimes people just need a push. The David Prize really wants to help amplify and celebrate and provide new levels of visibility to individuals doing incredible work across the 5 boroughs. And we hope and think that this can do just that. So a little bit about the criteria. We hear a lot that the David Prize is really broad, and that's intentional and by design. A couple of things that we look for in our open call. One is individuals that win the David Prize are New Yorkers. Their work has to be specific to the 5 boroughs. We need to understand why it's relevant to New York, why it's needed right now in New York City. The second is we want to know the idea. We want to know that it's a good idea. We want to know it's unique and it's contributing to the fabric of New York City, whether that's economically, socially, in the health landscape, in sustainability and environment. We're not specific on sector. We don't narrow on sector, but we do want to know what the idea is. And we want to know that it's a really good and unique one and specific and needed in New York City. The third is the person's visionary. You're going to meet two amazing winners today. It's the type of people that you think, I'm going to quit my job and go work for them tomorrow. It's the people that are taking risks. They make beautiful ideas happen out of nothing, and they can see through the forest. And those are really the types of folks that we're taking bets on. The fourth is they get things done. We're looking for somebody who has a little bit of a track record. We want to know that they have the ability to execute, but who has not done it all yet. And that's why we say this isn't a lifetime achievement award. This is an award for somebody who is already on their way, but needs an extra push to make it happen. And the final criteria we say is a true need for the prize. We know lots of people would say, I need $200,000 in unrestricted financing. But the point here is that it's right sized for this amount. $200,000 could truly catalyze this person's work and life in a new way. We also want to understand why funding would otherwise be challenging to find. And we ask every individual throughout our process to help us understand why it is challenging right now, why otherwise they are flying under the radar. So that's our 5 criteria in sum. The David Prize is built by a number of people. We ourselves are a small team, but we have a whole amazing group of people who support the work, who help us source incredible individuals across the city, who help us narrow in, they read, they select, they advise on sector areas of expertise. And we're so incredibly grateful for this list of advisors. We evolve our list on an annual basis. And so we're super excited to be joined by these 9 faces this year. And we're excited to continue to build this out. I want to give a quick overview of what the process entails before we jump in with Dr. Souza and Cielo. So in terms of the process, we're really excited to be open right now. You can submit your idea today. You can nominate someone you know that you think should win this. And it's a really straightforward process. If it's not, send us an email because we want to know feedback. We change it regularly every year. We're open to it. So here's the process. One is you can nominate someone. You can nominate someone. You do not need to be nominated in order to submit your idea. We find nominations are really helpful because you might know someone brilliant who should win, and let us know if so. The nomination process is open. It's a super simple form on our website. It's open all year, so you can always nominate somebody that you know that is doing amazing work in the 5 boroughs. The second and the first real entry point to the David Prize process is the step 1 submission. It's supposed to be short and sweet. It's available in 2 languages, English and Spanish this year. And everybody who wants to submit their idea to the David Prize must fill this out. If you're nominated and you don't fill this out, I'm sorry, but you have not entered the David Prize process. These are due December 4th by 8 p.m. If you're invited, the next step is the step 2 submission. This is a little bit longer of a form. It's more qualitative in nature. It asks for more questions around your vision. Who's impacted if it works? Why are you the right person to do it? All of these are due by January 18th. And then for everybody that enters the process, we will be in touch by March 1st, 2021 around your status. We move into a shortlisted process where we get to know each other in a much deeper way. We announce our finalist list early summer, and then we'll announce winners sometime September next year, so a whole year from now. We do have a long cycle. We want to get to know as many New Yorkers as we can, and that's why it takes a little bit longer. So with that, I am really excited to share stories of 2 of our winners this year, starting with Cielo, and then we'll be followed by Dr. Brown. And we will again pause for Q&A a little bit later. So before we jump into video, I'm going to roll through both of these presentations, and then we'll open the screen up and we'll be able to see each other. So Cielo, I'm going to give it to you to start off.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Erica, hi everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. Very excited to share with you just a little bit about Road to Uni and then to take your questions afterwards. So our mission, there's a lack of information, right? That is a barrier to higher education, not only in New York City, but in the whole nation. And in Road to Uni, we aim to break down those walls. Our vision is a world where students don't miss out on opportunities because they didn't know, right? And this is so crucial because in my story, And I'll go into it a little bit later, but in my story, I always talked about how luck was such a huge part of my story. And usually people say that preparation plus opportunity equals success, but I really believe that luck had a lot to do with my own success. And I think that it's important that we take that out of other people's stories so that they don't need any luck, and preparation and opportunities will be enough. You can go ahead, Erica. So what we offer at Road to Uni, the whole vision comes down to one really important thing, which is information, right? Providing information. And to solve that problem when it comes to the college admissions process, our website, roadtouni.org, has a crash course on college admissions. And as you can see, we have 9 important lessons that students need to know about. And we cover each one of these lessons through various videos and explanations. So far, all the videos right now have been done by myself, edited by myself, filmed by myself and everything. But thankfully, with the Road to Uni, with the David Prize funds, I'm so lucky to have the funds now to be able to get everything done professionally. And I really look forward to just amplifying our work through new videos and more content. So you can go ahead, Erica. So this is part of our blog, for example. This is just an example of the things that our website offers to students. We offer information, resources, support, advice, and anything really that students in high school need as they're applying to college. The college admissions process is a really complicated process, right? If you've gone to college in the States, you know what I'm talking about. You know how confusing it can be. And sometimes teachers and counselors are a little too overwhelmed with all the students they have that they don't really know who to ask questions to. So our website is really a one-stop shop, right? Just information, resources, and everything that you need to navigate this process successfully. So these are just some pictures and some topics of our blog. And we also have a database of internships and scholarships, which are hugely important when it comes to applying to college, because students, of course, need funds to go to college, right? And usually they don't know where to start looking for scholarships. That's one of the most recurring questions that we get on Instagram, on our platform where we started. And so we have a database of all these opportunities so that students don't have to Google all of them or waste a lot of hours on end really looking for opportunities, and so that they're well informed going into this process. We also reach students exactly where they are, which is mainly on Instagram. I'm looking forward to also having TikTok maybe in the future, and just reaching students, through all the information that we have. And this is part of this slide specifically is part of our website. So I just included some things that students have said. On your left-hand side, I guess you can see that, so these are some of the notes that students have taken. One of the really great important parts of Road to Uni and the platform itself on the website is that once they are done with the roadmap that I showed earlier, they can ask questions. And I think that this is the key when it comes to Road to Uni, because students usually can get information through Google or through other sources, but sometimes they don't know who to ask questions to. And so that's just an example of the notes that students can take on the website once they've created a free membership. And on the right-hand side there, you have just 2 examples of 2 students who have taken the online course, and the feedback that they've given me so far of how they've been, incredibly engaged and that they've really loved it. So there are many, many more where that came from, and I'm just super excited to take this to the next level. And finally, this is just the homepage of our website. It's again, roadtouni.org, and any student, not only in New York City, but in the nation, can create a free membership here. Any educator can as well, and any parent can as well. The only caveat to this is that only New York City students right now can talk to an advisor once they finish 7 out of the 9 lessons on the website. So once they're done with that, they automatically unlock a feature that allows them to ask any questions. And right now I'm the only advisor, but I'm happy to answer any questions. And in the future with these funds and more fundraising, I look forward to adding to our team, getting more advisors and really scaling this, because even though human connection is really hard to scale, I do believe that it's super important that we do so, especially for students, especially for kids who are taking the next big steps, that next big step in their lives. So yeah, I look forward to questions later. I'll pass it on to Dr. Brown.
Thank
Thank you,
Cielo.
Cielo.
Thank you, Cielo. Thank you, Erica. And thanks to Impact Hub and of course the David Prize for putting this event together today. I'm truly, truly honored to be named one of the winners of this year's prize. And I'm excited to share a little bit more about my journey to strong children wellness and to answer questions later. Next slide. So I'm a pediatrician and researcher by training, and was born in Brooklyn. I'm the daughter of Jamaican immigrants and sort of have always been raised with this idea that our community should be invested in so that our kids can reach their full potential. And I came back to Brooklyn after completing my residency and fellowship training with this idea that I really wanted to more holistically serve kids and families, particularly those that have historically been underserved and marginalized. And I started my pediatric career at Maimonides in Brooklyn and really served a large number of families, most of whom were receiving Medicaid, that were contending with a lot of adversity, including homelessness, including domestic violence, unemployment, lots of trauma. And I sort of felt really constrained in my ability to adequately address all of these issues that I knew played a huge role in their health outcomes. We call them social determinants of health. Many of you have heard that term, but really these issues, homelessness, pretty much everything that stems from poverty and trauma, underlie about 80% of health outcomes. But health systems, and including the one that I was working in, don't really effectively address them. And families are often forced to navigate this maze of social services and mental health services and other systems that just end up compounding the toxic stress that they're already facing. I knew that there had to be a better way for families to get their needs met. But again, I just felt really constrained by the limitations that were placed on me in my prior healthcare institution. So I decided to sort of take a leap of faith after about 6 years, leave Maimonides and start what would become Strong Children Wellness with 2 of my fellow pediatric colleagues. Next slide. So traditionally, what we call integrated care is essentially behavioral health integrated into a primary healthcare setting. But for families who have other needs beyond mental health, they may have legal needs, issues with housing, issues with unemployment, education, they're often referred out to all of these other community organizations and services to get help. And this basically, like I mentioned earlier, just sort of adds to the burdens that they're already facing. And it's just really difficult for families to navigate and super stressful. Next slide. So what Strong Children Wellness does is we actually embed primary care into established community-based social service and mental health organizations. We call our model of care reverse integration because we're bringing primary care into these community-based organizations rather than the other way around. And what that allows for is sort of this one-stop shop where families not only can get their physical health and mental health needs met in one place, but they can also get their social needs met including legal needs, housing related needs, unemployment related needs. And we're able to really leverage the services that our community partners offer to be able to provide families with this range of other social services and supports, and to really empower families and sort of move them from a difficult situation into one that's a lot better through wraparound services and supports. Next slide. This particular model is really timely right now because, as we all know, COVID has created a lot of challenges around psychosocial needs for families. Many are facing unemployment here in the city. There's a huge surge in mental health needs. And it's just really important for us as providers to be able to effectively address all of these needs that existed pre-COVID but are now magnified by the pandemic. Next slide. So this slide just sort of gives you a little bit of insight into our path to our first primary care hub, which launched this past August. So last July, myself and my two colleagues, Dr. Nicole Brown and Dr. Omlar Uwe-Madimo, established Strong Children Wellness as a private practice entity. Several months later, we really solidified and established our partnerships with community-based organizations. We're working with two large community-based organizations right now, the Child Center of New York, which is based in Queens, and JCCA, which has a primary location in Brooklyn. In April, we launched virtual care and sort of had to pivot to virtual care because we started at the peak of the pandemic and really made an effort to make care accessible to families virtually. And in June, we piloted a collaborative care model, which is really unique, I think, to Strong Children. And as I mentioned, in August, we launched our first primary care hub at the Child Center of New York. Next slide. So our current community partners I mentioned, collectively, they serve over 53,000 kids and families throughout the 5 boroughs. And we're just super excited that we're able to now reach a proportion of those families through our embedded primary care hubs. Next slide. Our vision really is to bring this reverse integration model of care to other community-based organizations throughout the city. So we'll be launching our Brooklyn hub in early 2021 at JCCA. We're also going to be launching virtual care at JCCA actually next month. There's an error there on that slide. And then we have plans to really keep adding primary care hubs to other sites throughout the city, as well as virtual care. One of the big pieces to our model and to its sustainability and success is to really align payment from health plans with the work that we're doing through what's called value-based payment contracts. And we've been in conversations with a few of the larger Medicaid managed care plans around our work and how payment can sort of be better aligned to that work. So that's still a work in progress. What the David Prize is really going to help us catalyze is being able to add some staff that can really help to ensure that families are connecting to the various services they need. So we're adding a family navigator to our team with the help of David Prize funding. And we're also able to really better sort of to make our technology a lot more robust so that families have the kind of access that we want them to have, not only to our primary healthcare services, but to the services that our community partner offers as well. So David Prize funding will help us sort of build out our technology platforms as well. So I'll stop here and excited to take questions.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. I'm going to stop my screen share just so we come back as video. And I just want to thank you both again for sharing a glimpse into all of the work that you're doing. The hope right now is to get a better sense of both of you as visionaries and leaders, and a little bit more of the work against the criteria to really demonstrate who it is that we're looking for as part of the David Prize. So first off, Cielo, you touched on this a little bit on your own story, and this is really trying to take luck out of the process of college admissions. Can you share more about your own story? What does that mean to you? And also share a little bit about what else is out there right now that may not necessarily support all students if they're not lucky.
Yeah, sure. So every time I talk about this, I feel like I'm interviewing again, and my heart starts to go, but because I get so excited about sharing my story, and a little nervous too about being so vulnerable. But I think it's important to talk about it. So thank you, Erica, for that question. So yeah, so I came here to the States when I was 7, going on 8, and my family didn't speak any English. I didn't speak any English. We were undocumented. And the only thing that I remember very clearly when I started the 3rd grade here was that my parents said, Cielo, you're going to college, but we're not going to pay for it. So you have to figure it out. You have to get a scholarship. And so that was the only thing that they left me with. And I had to really figure it out. And so I did. And I had to talk to a lot of people. I'm a very introverted person. I'm a very shy person, always have been, but I had to step out of that and look for opportunities and make as many connections as I could. And so I started talking to my principal, to my teachers, to counselors, to like anyone who would listen and tell them about what I wanted to achieve, which was to get a scholarship to go to college. And eventually I did find a program that I applied to, which was LEADA, a leadership enterprise for a diverse America. And they helped me reach my dreams. I mean, literally, this is a college prep program, a national college prep program that takes in the highest achieving students across the nation who have leadership skills or potential as well. And they help them get into elite colleges all over the nation. And so through them, I found out about the Gates Millennium Scholarship. And I was also a recipient of that. And that basically covered everything that Wellesley College itself didn't cover. And so I was able to graduate from college without any debt. And on top of that, I got some pocket money scholarships, and I really graduated with money in my pocket. And throughout my last year in high school, while I was applying to college and I was way ahead of the game because of LEADA, I saw my peers around me, and they were smart people with the same potential, great stories, so innovative, but a lot of them, if not most of them, were lost in the college admissions process. And I just saw that struggle, and I couldn't imagine how much I would have been freaking out if I didn't have that help that LEADA gave me, that LEADA provided for me. And so I told myself back then, as a senior in high school, one day I'm going to come back and I'm going to change this. I don't know how. Like I'm going to do a program like LEADA, but somehow it's going to be different because it's going to reach every student, no matter their GPA, no matter their extracurriculars, no matter their SAT scores. Like it doesn't matter, because I had to be in the right spot. Like, even though I was undocumented, and even though my parents, my family income was low, we were very low income back then, I still had 2 parents in my house. I still had a meal every single time that I needed it. My parents were healthy, even though my mom, it's a different story, but my mom almost did pass away, but she got better, miraculously. And like, there were so many little things that played in my success. And so I realized that not all students had this. Not all students had a warm meal at their home waiting for them after school. Not all students had both parents at home telling them that they supported their dreams. And so I realized that, high GPA, high SAT scores, leadership through extracurriculars wasn't something that was a given. It wasn't only about hard work. So I felt the need to put out information and resources for everyone, no matter what their situation was, so that everyone could go to college, so that everyone could find that scholarship that they could potentially have, help them, through college and to graduate, right? And so all of that kind of just inspired me to change this luck situation that I had. So yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Cielo. And
yeah,
on on that point, one of the realities that you've shared with us, and is probably understood by folks watching, is around guidance counseling access in New York City's public school system right now. And you've shared the data with us. It's one guidance counselor to, on average, 200 students per counselor. And can you share more about how Road to Uni helps to run in parallel with that and helps to supplement the essential work that guidance counselors all across the city are doing, and how you meet students where they are that otherwise might be harder for the existing system to do so?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that previously you asked a question too about the other college prep programs. So just to answer that quickly, there are many other college prep programs that are in existence right now, not only in New York City, but all over the nation. And I know that every single one of them is trying to change exactly what I'm trying to change, trying to make information and resources more accessible to all students, especially the ones who are high achieving, right? But what makes Road to Uni so different is that we, like I said, we focus on every single student, on answering every single question for everyone who has a question, because sometimes, it doesn't matter that if you're not first generation or documented or not low income, right? You have questions, students have questions, they're just kids, they've never been through this process. They've never applied to college, they've never written an essay, they've never applied to a scholarship. So every single one of them has questions. And so what Road to Uni is trying to do is not only support students, but also support that college, those college advisors, right? Those college counselors, guidance counselors who are in schools that are, especially in New York City, just overwhelmed. There are high schools that are overcrowded. As you said, Erica, the data from just last year was 216 students to each guidance counselor. But we have to remember that guidance counselors are not only focused on the college admissions process, they have other things that they're doing. They're, tackling discipline problems. They have so many crises going on around each and every single student. So it's really, really tough to just guide 20 students, 30 students, 50 students in the smallest schools in the city. Can you imagine how hard it is to do hundreds of students, sometimes thousands of students? It's insane. So my goal with Road to Uni is to not only support students, but to support those guidance counselors so that they have a way where students can get the foundational knowledge and also someone to ask questions to get the most basic answers or advice, right? And then to go back to them with the really important questions that have to do with maybe a specific scenario, right? That has to do with a particular school or with a particular case. And so I really hope that Road to Uni is a tool not only for students, guidance counselors, but also other college prep programs, so that we're that foundation that everyone uses, that tool that everyone can lean on to make this whole process much more easy and much more accessible.
Awesome, thank you for that. Suzette, I wanna hear a little bit more about Strong Children Wellness. And first off, can you share, you started about value-based payments, and it's a really interesting kind of play around how to pay for healthcare. Can you describe a little bit more about your hypothesis around value-based payments and why you're excited about it for pediatric care?
Sure.
And maybe define it in case folks are new to the space. Give us the 101 on it.
Sure, I'll try. It's a pretty complex topic and payment system, but I'll try to distill it a little bit. So healthcare generally is paid for, most healthcare, in a fee-for-service way, meaning that, when providers see a patient, they bill the insurance company for that visit. And what that does, it incentivizes volume over quality and value. And, particularly for Medicaid, which doesn't reimburse very much, providers really are just kind of, again, incentivized to pump out visits to get paid and, to stay afloat in order to really comprehensively address patients' needs and spend the time that they need to provide high quality care. What value-based payments does, it essentially incentivizes providers to focus on quality and value rather than volume. And there are different ways that a value-based contract can pay providers, but I think the the payment model that's most desirable for providers is called a capitation model, where you get paid on a per patient per month or per member per month basis. And what that does is, you get a certain amount of money per month to really provide comprehensive care that meets patients' needs, rather than the focus again on just churning out visits and volume. And it allows you to have sort of the time and space to spend really getting to know patients, and in my case as a pediatrician, really getting to know families. And you don't necessarily have to see a patient every 10 to 15 minutes anymore. You really have the ability to spend 30 minutes to an hour truly getting to understand a family's needs, their strengths, what supports they may need, and then make the right connections to whatever those supports may be. And so, that's really what we feel our model is most conducive to, a capitated per member per month model that really allows us to spend the kind of time our families deserve, and collaborate with our community partners to get them the support services that they need.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for digging into the nuance there. I know sometimes it can get a little technical, but I think it's really important to hear, on at first blush, it's a pediatric care facility, but the boundaries and the questions that you're really pushing the field to ask is just so important. So thank you for digging into that. I want to talk a little bit and hear from both of you. You shared a little bit about your story, Suzette, kind of getting to this place and understanding why integration is so key, and Cielo experiencing it firsthand and saying, when you were going through with it, I'm going to come back and try to figure out a better solution for this. Can you talk a little bit about, both of you, around the evolution of the idea, and when you applied to the David Prize, where were you in that evolution? Had you raised money before? Had you had conversations, and what was the feedback? What had you built at the point at which you applied to the David Prize? And I think it's helpful to understand just how early stage, or not early stage, and in many ways early, in many ways kind of coming for a lifetime, both of your work, where both of your work was at the point where you applied.
So yes, up until last year, December, I still do, I have an LLC called Road to Uni. And my focus is on helping students develop their personal statements. Before that, I had a tutoring center. I was also a private college admissions advisor. And up until I applied to the prize, I had already been wondering for many, many years whether I should make this into a nonprofit. Because even though I focused on essay writing tips and essay writing challenges, which is what I call my whole program, I offered information about colleges, scholarships, the whole admissions process and everything, because I really believe that that information shouldn't be privatized. I really believe that it should all be free, that everyone should have access to what I knew, right? And to what other private college advisors know, and that and information that is only told to students who pay for it, right? So I really wanted to make sure that everyone knew this, and that everyone can ask me questions and get the answers that they needed to be successful. And so I started this Instagram platform, and through Instagram platform, students just like, it was word of mouth. They all started telling each other, hey, this is, there's this woman, this lady who answers questions, and you can write to her whatever you want, and she's gonna like send you a voice message and just calm all your fears, basically. And so it grew little by little. And I got so excited. I was so excited about what I was doing. I was way more excited about that than working just one-on-one with students who could access my help by paying for it. And I remember that applying to the David Prize on the first round, before being a semifinalist or anything, it kind of solidified the idea of like, this needs to be a nonprofit. Whether I get it or not, I need to go through with this idea. And so I remember applying the day that I found out that I was one of the semifinalists. that same day I applied, I registered Road to Uni Foundation as a nonprofit. And that was the day that I got the call saying that I was a semifinalist. I was like, okay, this is fate. Like, I have to do this, you know? And so that's kind of where I was when I applied. And I don't know if you want to know how I found out, but actually, like, again, it was a luck, you know, because one of my high school friends actually told me about the prize three days before the deadline. So if I wouldn't have known this friend, if I wouldn't have had him as a friend, if I wouldn't have someone who, you know, believed in me and knew what I was doing or what I wanted to do, I wouldn't have applied. I wouldn't be here. And I believe that luck has to come out of the equation of success. We should have a place where everyone is sharing information, everyone is sharing resources so that we can all help each other, you know, have access to the things that are going to propel us, right, to the next stage in our lives.
So in July, I mentioned as I was going through my talk, in July of 2019, myself and my two colleagues actually formed Strong Children Wellness as an entity, but we hadn't started delivering services yet. And prior to forming Strong Children, I already had sort of pre-existing relationships with one of our community partners, and one of our team members, Dr. Omolara Uwemadimo, had a pre-existing partnership with the Child Center of New York, who is now our other community partner. So we had already had these relationships, and you know, the three of us, myself and my two partners, had sort of been having discussions for over a year about our frustration with the current healthcare system and our inability to really help our patients the way we want to help our patients. And from those conversations, this sort of seed of an idea developed around, well, why can't we talk to our existing community partners about sort of bringing primary care to them so that our patients can not only benefit from the care that we provide as providers, but can benefit from all of the incredible services that our community partners are able to offer families. And as we, you know, kept talking, it just made a lot more sense. And then the question was just like, okay, how are we going to get this to actually happen? And so over the course of months, we talked to our community partners, they were on board, and they were able to leverage some internal resources to kind of put the legal agreements and sort of the infrastructure around this thing. And, you know, we had spent the better part of 6 months really trying to get funding. And we reached out to a number of VC firms, most of whom were sort of in the social impact space, because we felt like they would have a better grasp of what we were trying to do and be, you know, more inclined to support it. But we just kept kind of hitting a wall and being told, you know, this is a great idea, it's exciting. We think that this is sort of the future of where healthcare needs to move, especially for marginalized populations, but you guys are too early and we need to see more. And we need, you know, X revenue and this volume of patients before, you know, we would seriously consider you. And somehow, my sister, who happens to be my twin and my co-founder in Strong Children, heard about the David Prize and said, you know, you've been like devoting the last 6 months of your life to this, you should apply. You know, you never know. It's unrestricted funding. You know, if we get it, it could be really transformational, and they're sort of stage agnostic. Like, we don't have to necessarily be operational for them to consider this. So I applied, not thinking that I would make it to this point, but I did, and yeah, that's how I ended up here.
Thanks for sharing. And I think the breadth of that is really helpful to hear, that these are kind of hunches and hypotheses that are underway, but still need bridge financing to get to a point where foundations or where VCs or impact investors might be able to really take a bet. So thank you for sharing the trajectory. And I'm seeing one question that I just want to make sure we answer about nonprofits or for-profit organizations. The David Prize is not agnostic. We take submissions from for-profit entities, nonprofit entities, and ideas that aren't yet entities. It really is a source for an individual, and the funding goes directly to a person. So just to be clear about that, it's totally agnostic to the sector. So we don't talk about impact metrics because we don't monitor impact outcomes at all as part of the David Prize, in our hunch to be, in our hope that we can really use trust-based philanthropy principles in funding individuals across the city. But I would love to hear from both of you around how you think about success, both from an organizational perspective, an individual perspective, because that at the core is so much of what we're here for, and at the impact perspective, or the social impact perspective. So Cielo, to you.
Yeah, sure. I'll go first. Okay, so success at the organizational level would be, personally for me, success for Road to Uni is for it to be the Khan Academy of college admissions. Success personally is to be able to build a machine through Road to Uni that really allows every single student to pursue their college dreams, and to honestly in the future just pursue any kind of dream that they have, as long as they're well informed. So personally for me, that means making a change in the world. I wanna be the change that I wanna see, right? And at an impact level, for just every single student in New York City to have that choice. I speak about choice a lot on my Instagram platform. I talk about it all the time when it comes not only to applying to many colleges so that you have a choice as to which one gives you the most financial aid, but also having choices in life, right? Setting yourself up so that you can choose whatever is best for you, and also having going to the best fit college, right? So it's all about choices. And in terms of impact, I think that choices in our lives is really, really important. And I want to have that impact on students, because students become grown people, right? They become adults, and they're the ones who are going to make the next changes that we're going to see, the new innovations of this world. And if they have choices, then they can make the choice that makes them the most happy. And happy individuals are gonna make amazing changes in the world, not only in our city. So yeah, that's how I see success in all three areas.
That's great. So, and I have no doubt that you're gonna achieve all three. I mean, you're just like incredible. I just have to say that.
Thank you, Dr. Brown.
For me, success from a company perspective, from a strong children wellness perspective, is really being able to scale this model to a critical number of other community organizations throughout the city. We have a goal of embedding our practice model within 8 CBOs over the course of the next 5 years. And there's just a lot of receptivity and interest from CBOs who want to expand the service offerings that they currently have and bring physical health services in. And so we feel pretty confident that we can sort of achieve that over the next, 5 years or so. In terms of what success looks like at a personal or individual level, I feel strongly, as do my 2 partners in crime in this, that, families should say that Strong Children Wellness and our community partners were pivotal in really lifting them out of poverty and into a place of sort of empowerment and being in a position to really thrive and achieve their full potential. And I feel like if we're not doing that, then we're not really meeting our mission and our goal and vision. And, we, believe that healthcare is really just a gateway to being able to truly uplift families and help them thrive. That's why I got into healthcare, not just to see a patient every 15 minutes and prescribe medication. It's really to help, families thrive and achieve their potential. And I want to hear that from families as a measure of success. In terms of sort of the overall impact that we want to have, I mean, I really believe that this reverse integration model of care can really move the needle when it comes to healthcare service delivery in New York City and around the country. I think that there needed to be a paradigm shift that happened in terms of how services delivery years ago, particularly when it comes to pediatric care. And it hasn't happened yet. People are still sort of practicing in the same conventional way, but expecting different results. And we want to sort of show that this model of care has the potential to really positively impact child and family health outcomes in a way that other traditional models of care haven't been able to achieve. So I think impact-wise, we really want to just kind of shift people's sort of the way that they practice and move it toward this more collaborative, integrated approach to care, where healthcare providers are really partnering with who we feel the experts are when it comes to addressing social and mental health needs. And those are the community organizations that have been doing this work for many, many years.
Thank you both so much for that. And Suzette, I so appreciate that response around families talking about strong children wellness as a contributor outside of just health outcomes, but really honoring and understanding the interconnectedness and how health plays an important but not holistic role in the livelihood and success of a family. So I really appreciate that. And I think it's a very different frame on demand in the healthcare space. So thank you for sharing. So what I want to do now with the next 5 minutes or so is run through a couple of frequently asked questions we get about the David Prize. I want to highlight a couple more key dates, and then I want to leave it to Suzette and Cielo to give a quick tip around the application process itself. Before we do that, I know there are a couple more questions that are coming in through the chat. One is, what is the short-term and long-term guidance the David Prize provides to winners as they build out their ideas? So we are not a formal accelerator program by any means. We do provide tailored support on a winner by winner basis, but we don't have kind of a program, a year-long hands-on process that we take folks through. We're here as a support and as an advisor. And so it's a little bit different than kind of a traditional incubator accelerator in that way. We also, I'll note that it is a prize, it's no strings attached funding, and we really mean that when we say that. And so part of that comes with taking a bet on a person, being supportive to that individual as they build out, but not prescribing a particular type of program that they're going to go through. And then another question came in about a rule of measure that we are using to determine success. So we don't have a strong theory of change, nor do we have specific quotas or metrics that we're monitoring. We take bets on 5 people each year, $200,000 a piece, and it really is intended to support the individual that we think is kind of truly a leader across New York City. So we watch and we kind of cheerlead from the sidelines, but we don't have any standardized metric that we use internally to determine success. So with that, I'm going to quickly try to share my screen. Okay, so what we hope you're saying right now is that you should definitely apply, or you know someone that should win and apply for this. So again, a key reminder of the dates, and these will be flagged all over our website, all over social media, all over newsletters from here on. You can nominate folks or submit your idea until December 4th of this year, December 4th. So it's like, I don't know, 6 weeks, 7 weeks away. If invited, all candidates have to submit their step 2 survey or submission by January 18th. You will know, you'll get an email from us if you've been invited to submit that. And every single person who submits a either first step or second step survey will hear from us on their status by March 1, 2021. So everybody would have heard from us by then. We celebrate finalists all summer long. We slowly announce people over the summer, and then we will celebrate winners sometime early September 2021. So a couple of FAQs that we get a lot. Do third-party nominations carry more weight than self-nominations? Nope, everyone gets an equal look. No, nominations don't carry any weight. It is solely a mechanism so we can reach more people and make sure that we are hearing from the right individuals that should win this. We know and have heard that amazing people don't think they are visionary and don't think that they would ever win. And so we need other people to validate that they're amazing and should win, and we often need that pull. But no, they don't hold any different, only any greater weight. Do multiple nominations increase odds? No, they do not. Every candidate that applies gets a serious look. Can I apply without being nominated by someone else? We get this question a lot. Yeah, you can. You can just submit directly yourself. You don't need to be nominated at all. I'm part of a team. Can I still submit? Yes, of course. We know great work happens in teams. We do ask that one person apply for the David Prize from that team. If I don't live in the 5 boroughs, can I still apply? No. We're really looking for work that's specific to New York City. However, if people are in the tri-state area, we still have an other bucket in our application. When we ask what zip code you live in, you can type in other. We're really serious about the work being specific to the 5 boroughs. So no, but we're eager to hear from all New Yorkers. Do I need to be an American citizen to apply? No, the David Prize is for all New Yorkers, regardless of immigration status. Is there an age range that's eligible for the David Prize? Nope, it's open to all types of New Yorkers. We don't care how old you are or how young you are. Can elected officials apply? Yes, they can apply. I have a million ideas. We get this question a lot. Should I apply more than once? No, you really shouldn't. You should apply as one individual with all of your ideas and brilliance. Include that in one submission. We'll evaluate from there. Does applying earlier increase my odds? No, it doesn't. It doesn't increase your odds, but we do recommend that you submit sooner rather than later if you are interested in submitting your idea to the David Prize. Step 2 takes longer. You get more time if you submit. We evaluate on a rolling basis, so we do recommend that you submit sooner rather than later. Does the idea, product, business, performance, curriculum already need to be in progress? No, it can be an idea on a piece of paper or out in the real world. And if you're struggling with the application platform, if you have other questions, info@thedavidprize.org. We actually do respond usually within 24 hours. And we want to be here for you with any other questions. So if you have more questions, info@thedavidprize.org. You also can reach us on any social media. We reply to all DMs, all comments. You can always find us there as well. So with that, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you to Cielo and Suzette. And before we let everybody go, I want to hear one tip for the application process as a departing gift.
All right, so I'll go first. This is right along the lines of what I tell students when they're writing their personal statements. And it's that when you apply and when you're writing your essays, please bare your soul. Just tell your story. And number 2 is to believe in yourself, right? Every single person has a unique story. And it really, really all depends on how you tell that story. And you have to be willing to put yourself out there to see something happen. And just to kind of validate what Erica said, they do answer to all DMs. I wrote to them. Well, I was in an application process. I had like 3 questions. And they replied right away. And I wasn't nominated by anyone, even though my friend did tell me about it. He didn't directly nominate me. He told me about it. I went on the website and I applied myself. So just wanted to throw that out there just in case, because I know it's kind of hard to believe coming from the source sometimes. But when you're applying, when you're writing your essays, please just be yourself, say everything. At the end of the day, they're the only people who are going to read it. So you have nothing to lose at all. So that's it. That's it for me. Thank you so much for having me. It was really, really quite a treat to be able to tell my story and share with all of you.
Thank you. And I just want to echo, the David Prize is as much a bet on you as an individual as it is on your idea. And, the investment really is in you and your ability to sort of execute. And so that really needs to be conveyed, that, you have this ability and somewhat of a track record of execution. You should also seek out references that can speak to that ability, people who know you well, who know your idea and what you want to do for New Yorkers, and can really, again, speak to your ability to carry the idea out. So yeah.
Thank you both for those helpful tips. And thank you all for showing up. Thanks for listening. If you have questions, we're here, we're on email, we're on DM, let us know. And we're so excited to hear from New Yorkers this year.